All right, boys and girls, today I'm going to present to you the PowerPoint on the introduction to matter, which it should be a review for you because this is what you worked on last week. So in this PowerPoint, we're going to talk about matter, the states of matter, the changes of states, and then the particle theory of matter. So matter is anything that has mass and has volume as well. Remember, mass is the measure of the quantity of matter, which is the amount of atoms that a substance contains. And then the units that are used for mass are the grams and the kilograms. There's usually confusion between the term mass and weight. So just to remind you of the difference, mass is going to depend on the number of atoms in a particular object. Weight is going to depend on the amount of gravity acting on the amount of mass contained in that object. So, as an example, the moon is 1/6 the size of Earth. So, that means that the moon has 1/6 of Earth's gravitational pull. So, this means that an object is going to weigh 1/6 less on the moon than it does on Earth. So, say if that object was an elephant, which weighs about 5,000 kilograms here on Earth, that same elephant is going to have a weight of 833 kilograms on Earth. But the mass of the atoms will still remain the same. The mass is still 5,000 kilograms for both places on Earth and the moon. So, volume is going to be the measure of the amount of space the substance takes up. And volume is measured in units of milliliters or liters. So, now let's talk about the states of matter. Remember from last week that matter comes in three states. Those three states: liquid, a solid, and yes, you guessed it, a gas. So, a solid, a liquid, and a gas are going to have um, different shapes and volumes, and also different distances between the particles and the energy of those particles. So, a solid is going to have a definite shape, such as this brick. A solid is going to have a definite volume, and because it's definite, which means it's unchangeable. A liquid is going to have an indefinite shape, and a liquid is also going to have a definite volume because that indefinite shape, because it takes the shape of any container, and that definite volume is still going to have a particular unchangeable amount. And then that gas is going to have an indefinite shape and an indefinite volume. Now let's talk about the distance between the particles. So the solid particles are going to be having going to have a small distance, low energy, and little movement. So that means that the vibrations between those particles are going to still be happening because they're still moving. However, it's just going to be moving at a very, very low energy amount. Now that's different from a liquid. As you see in the diagram, a liquid has more distance between the particles, more energy, and there's more movement between those particles. And then a gas is going to have a larger distance, and it has a high amount of energy and a lot of movement between those particles. So let's talk about the changes of state of matter. Matter can change from one state to another through six different processes. And this diagram here with the three states and the arrows are going to explain those six processes to you. So from a object to go from a solid to a liquid, that process is going to be called melting. To go from a liquid to a solid, that process is going to be called freezing. To go from a liquid to a gas, that process is evaporation. To go from that gas back to a liquid, condensation is going to have to occur. To go from a solid to a gas, sublimation is going to occur. And to go from a gas to a solid, we're going to have deposition occurring. Now, melting is a process that converts, remember, a solid into a liquid. So now, do you remember the rest? Remember, freezing is a process that converts what? A liquid into a solid. Evaporation is a process that's going to convert a liquid into what? Yes, a gas. Condensation is a process that's going to convert a gas into a liquid. Sublimation is a process that converts a solid into a gas. And deposition is a process that converts a gas into a solid. So those are the six processes. Now to change the state, changes the state have specific temperatures. A solid has a melting point and a freezing point. Liquid as well is going to have a freezing point. A boiling point has to occur to go to a gas, and then to go back from a gas to a liquid, it's going to have a condensing point. Changes of state temperatures are going to be different for different substances. Water's melting point is going to be 0 degrees Celsius. Lead's melting point is different as well as gold's. So, melting point is the point at which the temperature at which a solid turns into a gas. Freezing point is going to be the temperature at which a liquid turns into a solid. Boiling point is going to be the temperature at which a liquid turns into a gas. And condensing point is going to be the temperature at which a gas turns into a liquid. Now we have the particle theory of matter describes the composition and the behavior of matter in terms of particles. Remember, particles are those very small pieces. So the four postulates of the particle theory state: number one, all matter is composed of tiny objects called particles. Number two, all particles are going to have spaces between them. And what happens to these spaces as you go from a solid to a liquid to a gas? Remember, the solid from a solid to a liquid to a gas, the spaces are going to get, what do you notice? If you said larger, you are correct. They are increasing. Very good. The third postulate states that particles of matter are always in constant motion. What happens if you speed up the particles and add more energy to them? Well, the higher energy particles are going to move at a faster rate. And there are attractive forces that are going on between those particles. What happens to those attractive forces when the particles get closer and closer together, such as in that solid? Well, remember, those attractive forces are going to be stronger when the particles are closer. So that concludes our PowerPoint, boys and girls. So now you are going to use this PowerPoint to go back and complete the assignment that goes along with this PowerPoint, which is your Matter PowerPoint review quiz. If you just click the link to get into quizzes, and you'll access your quiz, and then I'll rate it from there. Please make sure you visit our classroom wall so that you can see the organization and everything that you need to complete for the week. I wish you the best, and we will have a Zoom meeting on Tuesday of this. All right, girls, have a wonderful time working.